I want to introduce our next keynote speaker, Dr. Helen Leonetti. She's a gynecologist specializing in integrative holistic medicine and bioidentical hormones. I remember her from one of Dr. King's Sassy Connections about her comments about juicy vaginas. Hey, those are not my words, those are her words. So I want you to be prepared for what you're about to hear. Come on up. Please help me welcome her and her wealth of information. Dr. Leonetti.
What if, upon awakening each morning before you get up and say, what must I do to fall deeply in love with myself? What if you stood in front of the mirror, the looking glass of the soul, buck naked, and said, I love you, exactly as you are, not as you can be 40 pounds from now without cellulite, different hair, different breast. What if? Would your life be different than it is today? In 1947, when I was 5, so you can do the math, so just remember, the first 50 years is dress rehearsal, and the second 50 is real time, okay? I was 5 years old. My mother and I were visiting a Wawa store down in South Jersey, and she sent me on a mission for napkins. You know where this story's going? I came back with a box of Kotex. She said, oh no, Helene, that's the wrong one. I said, but Mother, it's better, it's sanitary. She blushed, she turned crimson, and I, at my behest, said, you've got to tell me, what's the deal? She said, it's all right, I'll tell you when we get back in the back of the car with the rumble seat. You know where we are. It turned out that my mother, who had grown up in an orphanage, when she got her first blood, she thought she was dying, and she started screaming. And the matron, instead of hugging her and saying, my dear, you're a woman now, be grateful, be proud, she beat her for crying. So you wonder why my mother had such shame surrounding our first blood. How many of you, growing up in those years, remember calling your period the curse? I'm on the rag, because we didn't have Kotex. We had to use rags and pin them in our panties. There were no belts. There was no stick-ons on your panties. And we were never to talk about the magnificence of what this all meant, that we had become a woman. I tell all my patients, you have young children, when they have their first period, throw a riotous party for them. Give them diamond stud earrings, have a celebration, and remind them, you are entering into your power. Know that with the power that you have takes a great deal of responsibility. Know not to give your bodies away indiscriminately because you want to be loved. Know to have your boundaries. Know when to say yes and when to say no. We've never been taught that. And I have an amazing, when you're old enough, you have lots of numbers and letters after your name and lots of attributes. And, you could read my CV. It's from here to Mars. It took me to Medicare age, which is what, 65-ish, to really, really know that I was enough. that I was really good enough, that I didn't need someone outside of me telling me, you're okay, you're good. And I also learned that I didn't have to give away my power for others to love me. In fact, the most important thing I tell my patients all the time is that you need to love you first, unconditionally. Everything that's come before me affirms what I'm about to tell you. Again, a gynecologist, so I see women. Of course, men want to see me because I fix their wives' hormones. They figure I could fix theirs too. But I call my ladies mother martyrs because you take everyone else's needs before you. You are told that to be selfish and narcissistic by taking your needs first. Where did we learn that? How do we give from others if we have nothing in our gas tank to give? The first thing we do is fill up our own tank. You know the old adage on the planes. If you need oxygen, masks will fall from the ceiling of the plane. Be sure to put yours on first before assisting others. Is that a paradigm for life? So many important things that we've ignored because we've spent all of our time trying to make nice for everyone. So when I talk about dancing delightfully through the decades with your hormones will be horrible or they'll be delightful. Start taking simple steps. Drink water. 70% of this beautiful body and 90% of your brain is water. We are the microcosm of the macrocosm. The earth has 70% water. We mimic Mother Earth. The mother is our mother. And we're to be loving for ourselves and then extend to our beautiful mother. Drink water, not sugary drinks. Don't ever give up coffee. Don't ever give up wine, Heineken, tequila. Okay? Water. At least a half an ounce for every pound you weigh. So a minimum of 8 glasses of 8 ounces. And yes, the idea of alkalinizing your pH, as Dr. Elizabeth said, is vital. We need alkalinity, and lemon does that to you. There are alkaline foods, many of them, most of them, vegetables and fruits. We need to poop. Now, it's not politically correct to talk about elimination, but my God. When I was first this innocent gynecologist 35 years ago, and I would say, and Mrs. Smith, how are your bowels? And she would say, fine. And then I learned that fine was anywhere from once a day to once a month. So then I started being more specific. Well, can you tell me a little bit more about how you poop? Okay, so the teenager, like lady, I go. What's your problem? Ask a 60, 65, 70-year-old how her poops are. You will get a half-hour dissertation of whether they sink, they float, they're streamlined, they're fat. But it's important, and ideally once a day. And people who are incredibly healthy poop after every meal. My man does that. Oh my God. But it's so important. Eating healthy as if your life depends on it. What did Hippocrates, the father of medicine, 460 BC say? Let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Let your kitchen be your food. Let it be your medicine cabinet. We're starting to learn that everything we put on the end of our fork balances our hormones. You want to know about PMS? Oh my goodness, please make sense. When we're 11, 12, 13, we might get a day or so of kind of grungy, a little bit down, a little bit depressed, maybe even angry. As we get into our 40s, it's more feeling grungy and yucky than feeling days of good. remember, everything in a woman's body and life is connected to her emotions. Why do we call a hysterectomy? Why do we get it from the root word hysterical? Right? Think about that. So there's so many things that we can connect to our hormones. They could be our friends or foe. It's all part of listening. So what do I personally do? I have been using bioidentical hormones before they were called bioidentical hormones. 22 years ago, when I met my beautiful mentor, John Lee, who started the whole movement of bioidentical hormones in the world, he taught me biochemically what really is, not what pharmaceutical madness is all about. And he helped me understand balance. And it is all about balance. And we're all able to be balanced. It's just a matter of measuring. I measure with saliva testing. I thank ZRT Lab, who is a good friend, David Zava, and a colleague for these long 22 years. I test my hormones in saliva because it helps me to understand what's going on actively in your cell tissue. And it also tells me how tired or how vibrant your adrenals are, mostly tired, because it measures your cortisol levels 4 times in a day. And so it gives me a graphic image of what's going on with you. And then I talked to Dr. Chuck Robertson from Compounding Docs Pharmacy in Boca, and he helps me compound something specifically for each of my ladies. And I don't do anything major. I don't use huge amounts. Someone up north, where I have my second practice, wanted me to be included in an advertisement that called me an anti-aging doctor. I used a few expletives, and I said, I do not believe in anti-aging. We are all aging. Rather, I want to age beautifully, sexually, and vibrantly. Yes, with juicy vaginas. And it's possible. It doesn't matter how old you are. There's a wonderful company out here, Lubrigine, who has lovely stuff to help your vaginas be juicy. I use coconut oil because it's antifungal, antibacterial, antiviral, and it's a wonderful, good taste, good smell, good for sex of all kinds. Use your imagination. God gave us everything on this planet to heal us. When we need medicines and when we need surgery, you've got beautiful Dr. Sam, who's incredible, and she did her residency up in Pennsylvania way. We need us all. There's no better than less than. We all have our magnificent talents. And what I tell my women is, we don't have time to play small. I can't do your mission, you can't do mine. But if you don't do what God sent you here to do, you cheat the world of your magnificence. There was a time when I was a victim. 3 husbands, a suicide, a depression. Many years ago, thinking there was no hope, no ability to transcend and become a goddess. Had no idea that it was possible. But I had beautiful sisters, and I surrounded myself with people who spoke their truth and didn't play small with me and didn't bullshit me, told me what I needed to do to get out of victimhood. And that's what we need. We need hope and choice. So there's not a lot to say, so much more I could say, but I love the quote, and someone will, after I say it, will know who this is. Our deepest fear is that not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are brilliant. We are incredible beyond imagination. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who might I be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small doesn't serve the world. There is nothing noble about shrinking so that others around you won't feel inadequate. We were born in the image of God, and as children, we have to see our magnificence. And when we let our own light shine, we allow others to let theirs shine as well. You all know who that was, right? Marianne Williamson. Inaugural address for a very powerful man, Nelson Mandela.
Dr. Leonetti, can you make sure that everybody knows who that quote is from?
Yeah, that is the quote from Marianne Williamson, a real kick-ass activist, woman, author and speaker who's written the books, A Woman's Worth, A Return to Love. She has free sessions in LA every week. And she wrote this as part of the inaugural address for Nelson Mandela. Okay. So
I have a question.
Yes.
I'd like to know whether your poop should sink or float. And I'm only 41.
If your poop sinks or floats, maybe you're eating too much fat and bad fat. I'm a big fan of good essential fatty acids, which are fish oils, flax, Udo's blend, omega-3s. But you know, all the garbage from the fast food joints, which is all stuff that blows holes in your arteries, the hydrogenated oil. People that do too much. I'm not against meat or chicken or animal protein, just make sure it's organically farmed, because otherwise the hormones and antibiotics that are pumped into it wreaks havoc with your hormones. So they generally, I do colon hydrotherapy, and I put it in a big plug if anybody in this room goes or does it. It's an amazing cleansing system. And generally people that talk graphically about poop, it should be kind of brown and break apart gently as it gets in. When it's stringy and thin, you're probably stressed and you're having spasms in your colon. That's what I know.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Don't be afraid. Yes.
Hi. My question is, as we age, we suppose naturally to lose hormones, correct? Or have less?
Absolutely.
Do you suggest us to, as we grow older, to keep using hormones?
You know, I feel strongly, because I'm an herbalist, I know that there are foods that mimic hormones, all right? We know soy is the precursor to many of our sex steroids, but you have to be careful with soy, because if it's not fermented, it could leach a lot of nutrients from your body, B12 and iron and selenium, and also can act as a goitrogen to harm your thyroid. But we know things like red clover is a wonderful. We know lentils. We know pomegranate. You know the story of, there's so many mythical stories, but pomegranate is hormonally active, and so many foods are. It's just that for women, and we could use Vitex, which is also called chaste tree. It's a wonderful hormone it's really a moderating hormone that young women who are still ovulating can use to enhance their pituitary to make luteinizing hormone produce progesterone. And it's a lovely hormone. It's just that it's like taking Prozac and drinking Diet Coke and thinking St. John's wort is going to work. Do you know what I'm saying? I've used herbs as much as I can. If women get it, that they have magnificent bodies and what they put on the end of a fork, how they sleep, how they let go of stress, you know, all that. It'll work, but if we're the burning the candle 24/7, not sleeping and drinking coffee to wake up and, sleeping pills to go to sleep, herbs are not going to cut it as much. So bioidentical hormones, the word bioidentical simply meaning that when they get in your body, they're made in the laboratory from the base roots. Generally, in compounding pharmacy, they spend more money and they use wild jam as the basis of the creams that I prefer. That it's really like putting things in your body that your body would generally make. And it's just that estrogen and progesterone have been balanced, or should be balanced, well into our 40s, but we're learning, and a little testosterone, by the way, we make that. Men make more testosterone and less estrogen and progesterone. It's just about amounts. But we're starting to see that women in their mid to late 30s are stopping their regular ovulations because of stress, because of all the chemicals in the environment, because of the way that we're abusing our body, our emotional body, as well as our physical body, about not taking our needs first. So I find that women who want to have babies in the mid to late 30s are often struggling because they're not having regular ovulatory cycles. You can have an amazingly normal, regular cycle and not make an egg. And some of us doctors don't know that. And that means you're not making progesterone, which to me, again, John Lee was my teacher and progesterone was the key. And so I'm obviously very passionate about progesterone. And when I use hormones, I prefer to use them transdermally, through the skin or in the vagina. Why? Because when you swallow a pill, particularly progesterone in its natural state, 80 to 90% of it has to be conjugated, metabolized through your liver into byproducts that you don't necessarily want, that make you sleepy, flaky, dizzy. So it's really not an efficient system. We use it because people want to sleep at night. But I prefer using the skin, which is the most magnificent organ of our body that helps to absorb these things and somewhat bypass the liver first pass around, so it's more efficiently used. And the idea that it's not systemically absorbed has been dispelled. I mean, I have 3 research trials that were published in mainstream journals that confirm this. So anybody that uses the arrogance of ignorance to say that it's not absorbed, doesn't know biochemistry. If you do a blood test to look at the progesterone you're taking, it's not going to show anything, because what happens is the progesterone piggybacks a ride in the red blood cells and scoots around the body. And what do you do when you take blood? You draw it from the arm, you put it in a centrifuge, you spin it down, and you throw the red blood cells away. So it's like looking outside for the car key you dropped in your carport. So the bottom line is we have to understand biochemistry. So it's a long-winded answer. Dry vaginas, very important for good intimacy. I use a little bit of testosterone, a little bit of estriol, which is a very safe hormone vaginally, and it's kept this 70-year-old body very, very, very healthy. So my man and I can have fun. And it prevents bladder infections and thickens the vaginal mucosa, so you recognize and remember that you're a sexual being. And just one more pitch. While you're sitting there, you have all learned Kegel exercises. Do them. Practice them. They're incredible. They keep you, and your partner usually likes it too.
Hello? Quickly, what about estrase vaginally?
Estrase vaginally is estradiol. It's a bioidentical hormone. I've used it. I've also found a lot of women cramp from it and have bleeding because it is the more potent of the estrogens. That's why I like estriol, preferably in the vagina, because it's like 4 times less potent. And there's even data from Henry Lemon back in Journal of American Medical Establishment in the 60s that it actually prevents breast cancer. So that's my preference. If you're going to use estrase, please throw away your damn applicators. I remember when I was still doing exams, people would use that gram of estrase in their vagina, or 2 grams, via an applicator, and 3 days later, I'd be doing a pap smear, and this big wad of cream still sitting there, and I say, what? So I tell everybody, throw your applicator away, put a dab on the end of your finger, and lovingly massage it into your vagina while you tell your vagina how much you love it and how you want it to work for you. And more. One more question.
Yes. I thought I was finished with menopause. I'm 65. And up until 2 years ago, all the hot flashes were gone. They're back full force. Is that normal?
Yes.
Oh, it is.
And it's, all right, what causes hot flashes or power surges?
Yes.
You might be starting
My
to
summer breeze.
come into your own power. Well, the things that worsen them are hot, spicy food, caffeine, alcohol, and, guess, stress.
Okay. I only drink coffee in the morning, except for today I'm cold. And I have learned how to put toxic people out of my life. And I'm watching my foods. I really don't eat spicy foods. So should I be, I guess I should watch what I eat.
Well, that's part of it. I'm just so in love with progesterone cream because there are absolutely no downsides to it. And, you know, my first study in '99 showed a 93% improvement in hot flashes and only 19% on the placebo using one application of like 20 milligrams of progesterone every day. So there are things that you could try. And there's, you know, again, the metaphysics of power surges and hot flashes, sleeping in a room that's a couple of degrees cooler than usual. And we know that, again, metaphysically, we get hot flashes to kill off cancer cells because they can't withstand the heat of those internal combustions. So there's a lot of thoughts about all of this. Do you have a question? One more, okay.
I'm 66 years old, and I very rarely go to the bathroom. And so I started taking fiber tablets. How do you feel about that?
Fiber.
Because I'm also a very poor eater, so that adds to it.
She's a poor eater, she doesn't poop, and she started taking fiber. Okay, so what's the message here, my beauty?
Well, it's not unhealthy to take fiber tablets.
No, it's not unhealthy. You need water.
And I drink more coffee than I drink water. I'm very poor.
Okay, but don't brag about it. You know what? You beautiful thing. First of all, water makes your skin gorgeous. It prevents ulcer, asthma attacks, all right, and headaches. And coffee, I will never give it up, but for every cup of coffee you drink, you need 2 cups of water to overcome the dehydration that it's creating in your body. So that's why you're not pooping. You could drink your coffee, just drink more water. And magnesium. Everyone is deficient in magnesium. And I happen to love Natural Calm magnesium powder. If you there's different flavors, stir it into some water at night before bedtime. It will help you sleep, it will help your heart, it will help your bones, and it will help you poop.
Very much, you're fantastic. Thank you. I told you it was going to be fantastic. Did I not tell you she was great? Thank you so very much. She is unbelievable. Okay.